to rock and roll. James Palmer from the
there he
NFL.
Is.
Oh, look at the tie too. That is a draft night strong tie he's rocking right there. Yes,
I appreciate that, guys. I don't know if it's very echoey here in the media hut, but I got a green sport coat too, so I'm full Eagles mode today. I like that Gunner was like, today's gonna go fast. I'm the only idiot here since like 10 this morning. Like, this ain't moving real quick for me, Gunner. I'm gonna be here for a long time.
Well, I respect you, my man.
Pass faster for you. Yeah, okay. Go ahead, man.
No, I respect you, my man. But you've got that NFL corporate look out today, which I expect nothing less. And I can't wait to go back and forth with you on information you're hearing and so on and so forth. Love having you on the show. You know, that goes without saying.
I appreciate it, guys. Man, Rob always hits me up, and then I'm like, why doesn't this happen more often, man? Like, we always have a blast.
We do. And look, you've been all over this. And if people, again, just to reiterate, you're anchored down at the NovaCare complex. You will be, full-blown Eagles coverage tonight. But I always watch your reports. I always check out everything you're doing on social media. But I was watching your reports last night, James, especially with knowing that you're going to be the Eagles guy. You've been throwing some nice little tidbits out there, man. A couple of them. Now, one, and I know you're an Ohio State grad as well, how connected you are with the program, but I'll start with this one. One of the names that you're hearing that the Eagles have a great deal of interest in is Paris Johnson. So can you just expand a little bit on that one?
Yeah, and listen, Philly is not alone in falling in love with Paris Johnson. And especially there are teams ahead of them that love Paris Johnson. Now, the hard part is, and I heard you guys breaking this down a little bit, we don't know. And we don't know really starts at 2. What happens at 2 will decide what ends up happening for Philly and a lot of the teams between them. But they really do like Paris because he feels an immediate need after playing an entire year at right guard for Ohio State. He could play right guard tomorrow and start for the Eagles. And then, say Lane plays 2 more years and retires, he'd be your right tackle for the next decade or could play left. And I think that's the thing people need to remember. Like most teams I talk to go, Paris is a left tackle all day. But if you played right guard for an entire season, I'm pretty sure you could play on the right side. And play the right tackle position. He has unbelievable athletic ability for a guy that's 6'6", 313. I remember him telling me, he was like, in high school, I was a receiver, and then I was a tight end. And I feel like I couldn't catch, so they just kept moving me closer to the ball in the middle of the field. But that just shows you how well he can move. And I think he has those special traits that Jeff Stoutland can go, okay, and I'll fix this, and I'll make him a little bit stronger here, and then play in between Kelson and Lane, I think would be just the perfect spot because his football character is through the roof. Now, I think if they want him, they're going to have to move up.
All right. See, James, I'm glad you brought that up because, as you know, people here in the Philadelphia area are so blinded with the Bijan Robinson talk.
I might have played a part in that. I'm not
well, I understand why. He's a phenomenal talent. But historically, we know how this team likes to build a roster, number one. Number two, I don't look at a Paris Johnson, and I've been saying I'm down to 2 players. I have been for more than a week, as Rob will tell you. Jalen Carter, Paris Johnson. There's a possibility you may have to get up to move to get one of them. But Paris Johnson, to me, is not a luxury pick. I mean, let's go back to last season for just a moment. Lane Johnson somehow, some way, finds a way to play with that injury. What if it was deemed that he could not play? To me, the Eagles don't get to the Super Bowl without Lane Johnson on the right side of their offensive line, because we saw what Jack Driscoll was on that right side. He played better at guard, had all kind of problems at right tackle. Andre Dillard mentally could not play right tackle. So you would have been in a world of hurt, had Lane Johnson not sucked it up. You get a guy like Paris Johnson. Jeff Stoutland's going to cross-train him, first of all, guard tackle. There's no guarantee that Lane Johnson is going to survive a whole season. If you look at his recent history, he's been up and down. He went out with the issues, obviously dealing with depression. He has battled through a number of injuries, but he's missed games as well. That is not a luxury pick. That's a pick of need. If you go offensive line, plain and simple.
I think one of the things that hasn't been spoken about enough in Philadelphia is how remarkably healthy this team was last year. Like, I don't think you get that injury luck each and every year. I think as a whole, you mentioned Lane and what he was able to come back from, but as a whole, they didn't have to battle injury all that much. That's not an every season type of thing. So I do think that kind of answers your question in cross-training guys. And the other thing that I kind of heard was Cam Jurgens playing right guard is not a slam dunk, like
Right.
that it's going to work. And I think a lot of people just assume that right away. And that's no slight to Cam. He wasn't able to cross train last year because Kelsey was out with the elbow and he had to run with the ones playing starting center, most of camp. I will tell you this, he dominated playing center. He played really well. I was at the joint practices in Cleveland against the Browns, and he was phenomenal playing center, but he couldn't get in there at right guard to really practice a whole lot there. So yeah, Paris would be a need and a fit. And I don't say it's a luxury. It's just going it's kind of like what they did with Jordan Davis. Like, take great talent when you already have somebody there. And
Absolutely.
somebody there might only be there for a year or two, but it doesn't matter if you can build your team that way. That's why I do think they can be a little bit more at play with the risk they take. And maybe that's Jalen Carter at 10, right? Because of the character issues. And listen, I've heard a lot more than I can report. And the things that go on with him off the field. The talent is undeniable. And I think Philly does do some things in the draft process that other teams don't do. So I do think some of the stuff that they do during official visits give them a pretty good idea to make a decision on Jalen.
With that in mind, James, is there a possibility that Carter's there at 10 in your estimation and or close? If they deem him, if they vet him properly, if they believe in the off the field stuff, do you believe he might fall that far?
There's a chance. I think and Howie, I'm told is calling to move up. My guess, and this isn't for certain, this was kind of twisted yesterday by some people taking one of my reports online. My guess is it would be for Paris or Jalen to move up. I don't know who else you would move up for.
Right.
I don't think anybody else is worthy of the capital to move up. And now some people also are like, Philly's only got 6 picks. How do you move up? Well, they got an extra 2 next year that they could use to try to move up. The capital that they're expecting to have, 12 picks in the 2024 draft, they have the ability, even with limited picks this year, to move up. Those are the 2 that I think you would move up for. The team I have my eye on is Seattle at 5 for Jalen Carter. I know Pete Carroll really, really likes him. I know that they have no problem picking guys that maybe have some character questions. I mean, they picked Frank Clark and he got kicked out of Michigan. Right. Malik McDowell, I was there. He never played a snap for them. They picked him in the second round because of some of the stuff. Now, picking him at 5 is a different deal. But they also feel like they're not going to be up there picking very often, and they never are. So maybe they take a chance. I think that's your main competition. I know there's some teams in the top 10 that I've spoken with that they have already told me flat out, we're not picking Jalen Carter.
I asked a couple of people on the inside over at NovaCare. I said, do you worry about Jalen Carter's off-the-field history? And what I was told was performance equals tolerance, which means if he can perform at the level everybody anticipates him performing at, then they feel that they can get him on the right track. There's enough veteran presence in that locker room to steer him on the right track, to keep him away from some of the things that we've heard about him. And that says a lot because, as we know, the Eagles are a very high culture type team. They spew that time and time again. We want high quality, high culture guys. When you look at the type of guys they bring in by way of the draft and free agency, very, very seldom do you have a guy who's a blotter in terms of being a national news story for the wrong reason. Under this regime, it was the case under Doug Peterson. It's been the case so far under Nick Sirianni. But in this case, because of that veteran presence, when I'm talking about the Kelseys, the Lane Johnsons, Fletcher, Brandon Graham, Darius Slay, Bradbury, so on and so forth, these are high character guys, okay? And you need that big brother mentality when you have a guy who's been the big dog in a big pond. And even though he would be a high draft pick, he starts off as a little dog in a big pond. So you don't want to step out of line when you're trying to make your debut in the NFL, especially in a highly publicized, highly critical market like Philadelphia.
And I think he knows, his reputation heading into the league. And sometimes that can turn a guy around because they don't want that reputation or they don't want to live to that. I mean, we're kind of stealing what I'm going to say on NFL Network at the bottom of the hour, which if you have to remember, Gunnar, what you're talking about is the culture of this locker room and the leaders that they have was a big reason why some of these guys left in free agency, because Howie didn't want to do any deals during the season because he didn't want to mess with the culture and the chemistry of the locker room. If that doesn't show you the importance of kind of that locker room and what it did in terms of the Super Bowl run, you could maybe lean on that in a sense. I don't know if there's going to be like an added like side salary for Nakobe Dean to help babysit Jalen Carter. I'm not sure if that like money gets transferred or something, maybe into a different portion of his deal.
I get it every day with these guys.
Yeah,
James,
yeah.
just so you know. Yes.
Exactly. Like, but I do know Jalen thinks the world of Nakobe Dean, and so I do think they will have some pretty good intel if both these guys shoot them straight. And Dean and Jordan Davis, and they have been around that program a lot over the last couple of years. They've spent a lot of time down there. One thing I will tell you guys, like Kirby Smart has been shooting teams very straight on his opinion on Jalen Carter. So from what I'm hearing, Georgia is not sugarcoating or changing the narrative on Jalen. So teams, I think, are pretty aware of the player that they'd be getting and the person that they'll be getting. So now it's who wants to pull the trigger on them.
And guys, I will also add this to the Jalen Carter equation as well. I think we agree in unison that Dom DeSandro is the best in the league in terms of background checks on players.
He's phenomenal.
If he gives a Jalen Carter pick the green light, that tells me that they're okay with what he's done in the past. The past is the past, and he's ready to move forward. There's nobody who does any better than Dom in terms of checking up on the history of players, background, good or bad on players, and telling Jeffrey Lurie, Howie Roseman, and the draft scouts yes or no. You know, Dom is very blunt about his opinions on people. And so if they get to Jalen Carter tonight, that tells me that they're satisfied that what Dom has told them is exactly what they expect from this young man moving forward.
Real quick, I will say this, like to piggyback off that, I think that's something, I want to say this quickly, that maybe casual fans don't understand that differentiates different organizations.
Yes.
Are the people that you may not really know about. It's also the individuals that did this Jalen Hurts contract. And those two that really in the front office are the cap guys and the cap gurus here. Those type of people in your building really are not equal in every building across the NFL. And if you have those type of people in those roles, that is how you have more success than some other teams.
James, we've now gone 19 plus minutes into the show, and I haven't legitimately asked you a question about Bijan Robinson, which is almost, I may be taken out of here in cuffs for waiting this long. I know people are going nuts about it. Your estimation, you talk to a lot of people. You're obviously very in tune with what's going on here. And I know that there's an unpredictability and a volatility to the draft that can change a lot of things. All that preamble. In your estimation, is there a likelihood that Bijan Robinson is a Philadelphia Eagle when this night's over?
There's for sure a chance. The interest is real. I do know that they're not alone in their range. And I mean that as in like in their range, I don't want to give anything away. There could be somebody behind them that really likes them and moves up 2 spots, or somebody right in front of them takes them, or you know what I mean? Like around them, there are teams that have fallen in love. And the thing that Albert Breer probably put this perfect, my good buddy and fellow Buckeye over at SI, about how the Eagles were interested in McCaffrey in 2017, and catching ability was a big part of that in his route running. I know some teams that privately worked out Bijan, and they barely did a single thing during the workout in terms of him as a running back. And most of the workout was lining him up all over the place, making him a mismatch in the passing game. The head coach at Texas thinks he has the best hands on the team. I'm not saying he's Christian McCaffrey in terms of a route runner from a running back standpoint. I don't know if anybody is. But I do think there are plenty of teams in this league that think he is a surefire mismatch out there. And I think I helped stir some of this Bijan stuff because I saw it was popping up here in Philly when I did it at the beginning of the week. I've talked to a number of teams in the NFC that were going through their mock drafts, and they were just like, if they get Bijan Robinson, like it's over. Like it's like, and then one team I brought it up to, and I was like, hey, a couple of teams told me like they went through their mock and Bijan was landing with the Eagles, and they were like miserable in the draft room, and they were like, yes, our room too. Like it has definitely been something that, you know, has been compared it goes full circle to McCaffrey. If you look at how different that offense was the back end of the year in San Francisco once he joined it. And the teams and skill positions are pretty similar, in all honesty, with a power receiver, a skill receiver, a great tight end, a good running game. Like there's comps there, and they added Christian, and they were an unbelievable offense.
Right.
You know, here's my counter to the Bijan thing. You know, historically, this team does not draft running backs high, number one.
Nope.
Number two, this team finished 5th in the league last year in rushing. running for almost 148 yards a game, okay? You didn't have Josh Jacobs, Nick Chubb, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry. You had Miles Sanders and a collection of understudies. So that's why I say this team historically always builds this team from the inside out, defensive, offensive line. What do they need right now? They need an edge rusher. Brandon Graham, probably last year. Fletcher, probably last year with this team. Offensive line, do they need a guard right now? Yes. Is Jack Driscoll the answer? Is Cam Jurgens the answer? And as you said off the top, James, which I love, there's no guarantee either one of those are penciled in as your starting guard. Plus, Paris gives you that versatility to move him outside to a tackle. If Mailata, who missed a few games with a shoulder injury, if Lane Johnson, who could miss games with an injury, step out. We're not talking about Andre Dillard here. We're talking about a player who's graded out higher than an Andre Dillard and who you can flip-flop on either side. Andre Dillard basically told the organization, I can't play the right side. And that's why they stuck him on the left side. Paris Johnson, you can put him in 3 different positions, and I don't think once he's up to speed in Stoutland University, he won't miss a beat.
Now, that's why I with everything you said, that's why I don't think he'll be there at 10. I think they definitely need to move up. And his stock has been rising over the last 48 hours like crazy. He could go way higher than you think. I do know that. And so I would say the counter argument that I've been told and kind of came up with myself as well that Philly could be thinking is, A, you can get an edge rusher in that second group at 30. Say it's Keon White or Will McDonald or Miles Murphy, I'm told, will probably be off the board by 30. But in that second group, you can get your edge guy. This was told by somebody to me with the Chargers. They had Derwin James, who they think is one of the best players in all of football, and I would agree, lined up on Travis Kelce in a game in the red zone, 3rd and long. We're poised to stop them. And there goes Mahomes, there goes Kelce, touchdown. We can't stop him. So there's a belief in the league starting to be, if you want to win a Super Bowl, you got to put as many points on the board as possible. Like, you just got to keep scoring. And Jeffrey Lurie kind of said that at the owners' meetings where he was like, there's a high premium on offense. And I look at the Super Bowls we played in, and no offense could be stopped. And that's kind of true. And that's starting to be more of a sentiment in the league. I know, like, give me a team outside of, I don't know, when a hobbled Peyton Manning was playing in Denver in 15, that a great defense has won you a Super Bowl. It's turning every year as the rules favor the offense, as the rules change. Like, the more weapons you have, the greater chance you have to win a Super Bowl. I mean, Andy used to get killed for it back in the day, and now he's succeeding with it with a generational quarterback talent. But that's the argument. Like, in the next 5 years, I think, and this is the sentiment around the league more than mine, Jalen Hurts needs all this talent around him for this offense to work. So put as much as you can around him and try to win a Super Bowl in the next 5 years. That's the Bijan argument that I think people are making for Philly. And it's just more fun to talk about a running back with fans.
It's more fun to talk about Bijan than Peter Skoronski. I mean, let's be real. It just is what it is.
Exactly.
James, listen, let everybody know, and I always tell everybody, at James Palmer TV on Twitter, but you'll be doing live hits throughout the day for NFL Network, and you're going to be hunkered down there at the NovaCare complex with all the full-blown Eagles coverage.
Everything. It's really, every time I'm on TV, about every half hour on NFL Network, I will pretty much only be talking Philadelphia Eagles. But it'll be on Twitter. It'll be out there. And listen, guys, this is awesome. I saw a great game at CBP last night.
Come back,
I stayed
baby.
for the whole thing.
Yes.
Come back. I'm president of the Alec Baum fan club right here. And was right there with my boy Mike Garafolo and some of my buddies from home. It's kind of become a draft tradition here the last 2 years. And we saw a great one, man. We didn't leave with the rain. Nice little comeback after early struggles on the mound.
Yeah, Castellanos is
awesome,
fire.
man.
James, listen, man, keep up the great work. We love having you on, man. We'll talk to you
Appreciate
soon.
you guys. You're the best.
Thank you very much.
Take care, man.
All right, that is James Palmer. Interesting insights there, Gunner. I mean,
absolutely.
Look, he makes a compelling case at the very end. The last thing that James said makes a very compelling case that, you got to just potentially throw as many bullets out there as possible offensively and just try to knock teams off. And I don't disagree with that. But the counter, I guess, for me, and you kind of laid it out as well.
Yeah.
I think we've gone too far the other way with you don't need any defense at all. Like, I see a lot of holes on this defense right now. I see like immediate holes, and I see a hole like down the line because you're older. Fletcher's older. Brandon Graham's older. I'm not going to call Barnett older, but I don't know the productivity's there for him to justify this. So you're a little bit older. Both your corners are 30. that's a little bit your starting corners. That's a little bit concerning, as far as I go. And, look, the other thing is, like we talked about, they had all 22 starters playing in that Super Bowl, which is insanity. Mm-hmm. Had they lost, you pointed out Lane or Mailata or fill in the blanks, one of these other big pieces, you might have a tough time getting there. And picking somebody who may not start right away. Now, Paris Johnson would, but picking somebody who may not start right away may not be an obvious thing. Like we had Sal Powell on yesterday, and he was saying, are you really going to take Jalen Carter because he's not going to start? I don't know what you call it in the sense of the starter, but they're in such a rotation that he still plays a ton in my estimation. If it ends up being Jalen Carter, he's like a starter.
Well, you have based on what we've seen of this Eagles defense, you technically have 4 starters at defensive tackle and 4 starters at DN because that's the way they like to rotate them. It's not about who starts the game. It's about putting people in strategic positions in certain downs and distances, which they did very well, despite what a lot of us think of Jonathan Gannon, me included. They were very good at putting certain players in certain positions in down and distance. Don't get me wrong. Bijan Robinson is a phenomenal talent. You've heard me say time and time again, for as long as you've known me, that when it comes to, if you ask me my favorite position in football, I have said consistently since I was a little kid, I am a fan of the running back. Bijan is a phenomenal back. And if the Eagles select him, more power to him, makes that offense that much more explosive. But in terms of what we know about this team and the way they structure, the way they think, that's why I said, is Bijan on their priority list? Yes, but I don't think he's number 1 or number 2. I think he's number 3 on their priority list based on how the draft would fall. If they get him at 10, I'm applauding the Eagles left and right. That kid's going to be a phenomenal talent. Hopefully it's a natural transition for him from the college ranks to the pros. But in talking to certain people, just getting a feel for what they're thinking over there at NovaCare Complex, that's why I've said consistently, I don't think he's the number 1 option at number 10.
Mm-hmm. Oh, look who it is. Look at the cat.
Hey, I know this guy. I believe.
Whoa, I'm not familiar. Is this a guest or is this who?
America's Most Wanted? Is that
it? I saw him in the post office before I came in. Yeah, his picture was up. What's up,
bruh? Look where you guys are and look where I am.
Oh yeah.
I just had an hour. I just had an hour meeting over the draft about who they're gonna pick, and I absolutely still do not know.
Right.
But I do get food for the draft.
Oh,
you do? How'd you get that?
All right.
Pacificio's your spot.
Oh, that place is strong.
I love that place.
Yes.
Wait, did you have to rough up anybody to get food?
No, but I will tell you this: Squeaky Will gets the most oil.
Exactly right. Exactly. Yes.
I'm assuming you brought it up in the meeting.
Maybe 2 or 3 times. Just maybe. Maybe.
Just make sure they bring it before the show kicks off and not during the show.
Yeah.
I was prepared though.
You're a Pringle man. I like it. Smart.
Yeah, I was prepared. I mean,
breakfast of champions. Yes. Pringles.
But my fault, guys. Sorry I'm late. But
it's all right.
That's all right, bro.
I think you hit on something though, Barrett. The first thing you said.
What's that?
Anybody who tells you they know this is who the Eagles taking are lying. Here's why. Number one, there's so many things could happen in front of them that is unexpected. They could think, there could be a guy that they thought, no way is he going to fall. He falls. No way is this guy, or a guy who they thought was a lock to still be there at 10. Somebody makes that surprise pick in front of them. Anything could happen. Somebody could trade up in front of them and grab somebody. Like there's just a lot that could go down here. And the intrigue is what makes it the most fun. They're in a really unique position right now.
I got butterflies right now because I don't know. And I try to pride myself on doing the research, I've watched so much film. I've watched more film this year than I've done in previous years because you kind of knew there was so much talent in the draft that, you knew who the stars were going to be. Well, this draft is completely opposite. Mm-hmm. There's only like a top 10 or 12 guys.
Right.
And it's a top 10 or 12 guys that, may not necessarily feel a need or want that we have. Yep. This Bijan thing. I'm going to tell everybody this. Bijan is probably the third best draft pick in this draft. He's probably the third best talent for what he does, what he brings to the table, what he can do in the Eagles system.
Right.
He could be a great piece in this system. but the likelihood of them doing it is slim to none. We know that they like and they value the trenches. We know this. But does that change what they, like everybody saying, I keep saying Nolan Smith. I like Nolan Smith.
Yep.
Well, why would you pick up a 10? 10 is too soon. No. You get what will fit your team. You don't put a round peg in a square hole. Mm-hmm. You get what's going to fit your system. And I think that's what they're going to do. They're going to get somebody. So everybody's like, well, why would you go out and get a Hassan Reddick? You already got a Hassan Reddick. Well, last time I looked, if I had $1, somebody gives me another $1, I got $2. I'm not, because I already have $1, I don't want it. No, you want to bring guys in if they complement each other. I played against a Greg Lloyd and a Kevin Green and had to battle those guys. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, why wouldn't get two guys? You have a proven product. Why don't we bring in another guy that could be the carbon copy of the opposite guy?
Let me pick up on your point. All right. So I think two things. One, you're right. The dollar analogy is perfect, spot on. The other thing is you don't know what you're getting out of Derek Barnett. You don't know that Brandon Graham can equal or get close to what he did last year.
Right.
Another year into his career. So even if it's not, let's just say best case scenario, Brandon Graham's still lighting the world on fire. Great. Okay. Eventually you are going to need the Nolan Smiths of the world to be able to do their thing.
Absolutely.
And he'll get plenty of touches this year. They are a rotation defensive line. We know that. Yeah. It's not just two guys coming off the edge. It's everybody, every man who's ready to roll. So it makes a lot of sense as far as I'm concerned.
I'm sorry. I missed part of what you guys were saying. I was hypnotized by the ocean waves rolling in from my view right here.
He's easily distracted, Barry.
Today I'm easily distracted.
Life is hard, but it's fair.
Oh, Barry, there's a boat about the size of your boat just skimming across the water right now. I can't tell if they're fishing or not. You see that boat? You see that boat, Rob?
That's nice.
Bro, yeah, I thought we were friends.
We're not just friends, we're family. But in family, we always take a backdoor shot at each other every now and then.
Oh, hold on.
You know how it works.
I want to show you.
You look like right now you're in a prison cell, man.
Uh-oh, do we lose him?
Uh-oh, he froze.
Uh-oh.
He's so mad at us, he froze.
Okay. All right, well, on that note, let's take a break. Okay, let's get a quickie in, and we'll come back. All right, there he is. He's back. Barry, I'm going to let you get whoa, what are we doing?
He's showing us where he is.
Oh. Yeah, I like our setup better.
Is that a prison cubicle? What is that?
Yes. He's doing his time. He's done enough time dealing with you. You know what I mean? He's done his time. So let's do this. Let's get one in real quick, and we'll come back and I want to revisit what you remember what our predictions were? We did these earlier in the week. What the Eagles are going to do at 10:30.
I believe so.
All right. Yeah. Let's revisit that and see if your opinion's changed on that, if it's changed on Bijan, the whole nine. So we'll get all that in when we come back. Don't go anywhere. So Derek and I are coming to you from Ocean Casino Resort Top Golf. Now, this is the site of where the JAKIB Draft Show is going to be at 8 o'clock tonight. It'll be Derek and I. It'll be Mark Farzetta. It will be John McMullen. It'll be Seth Joyner. I mean, we are going to absolutely blow this thing out of the water. It's going to be crazy. It was wild last year, and it's going to be nuts again. Yes.
Hey Rob, do you see Zach McGurkin, who's in marketing? Do you see him standing by?
Not quite where I'm at, but
okay.
I have his cell.
Oh, I do too. I'll text him because I want to find out what's on the menu tonight.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
Yes, I want to find out what's on the menu this afternoon.
Yeah, you know what? I'm glad you said that. When we go to break, I gotta talk to Zach.
Work your magic, Derek. Sorry, Barrett. Yeah. Sorry, man. Yeah.
Oh, Barry, you still on? I thought you were frozen. My bad, B. Brooks. I'm sorry.
Man, the shade is strong today, man. I got to eat Pringles, and you guys getting filet mignon.
That's right, monogamy. Yes. All right, so let's do that. We'll come back 1 o'clock. Chris Franklin from NJ.com, Eagles beat writer, and then 2 o'clock. Our own John McMullen, Birds 365 with Jody Mack. J Mack will be joining us at 2. So don't go anywhere. Derek, Barrett, Rob, we are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Let's talk about Bravo Pizza of Havertown. Yes. We are thrilled that they are a part of the family, the Sports Take and JAKIB YouTube Network family. Bravo Pizza of Havertown. I've been going there since I was a kid. They've been family-owned since 1985. I'm in there each and every week. I was in there last Thursday hanging out with Alex and the crew. Here's the great thing. The food there is made fresh daily. It is not sitting there under a heat lamp. They actually fly in their flour from Italy. I can tell you I've gotten an up-close tutorial how they do things. but Bravo Pizza of Havertown has 20 different styles of pizza. They have slices to go. I get the upside down. That's my favorite. That's my go-to. But they have a policy. You name it, they will make it. That's right. Specialized pizza for you, your way. And it's not just pizza that they have. They have fresh pasta. They have wings. They have sandwiches. They have salads. They're also committed to the community. They have fundraisers for charities, schools, little leagues, where the proceeds go to those organizations. Follow Bravo Pizza of Havertown on your Instagram or Facebook account for daily specials and promotions. 1305 Westchester Pike, Manoa Shopping Center in Havertown. That's 1305 Westchester Pike, Manoa Shopping Center in Havertown. If you had any idea what was going on here, yes, Derek Gunn is a bad guy. 610-446-3810, 610-446-3810.